So thank you for joining us today. This is a free-flowing, spontaneous ceremony. To honor and remember the amazing person that Dave was. So sharing stories, memories, whatever you feel. And this is Dave's treat to start. So thanks. If you need a chair, it's right there.
Thank you.
Or you can just stand. And we'll be recording, so this can be shared with anyone who's not here today.
Thanks, Gary. Thank you, everybody, for coming and for sharing the love of David. He is such a special son. And I got my other son here with me, too, to support. I love you dearly, Derek. And my family. And our DGP family. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to, because he wouldn't want me to cry. He'd want me to be happy. And mostly I am now. It's just the shock has gone off, but not gone off. But I'm sure you all can relate, because I know you loved him so much. He was just a really, really special young man. And it's a shame that his life was taken so quickly and so early. He loved everybody. He did all kinds of things for people, and he would never ask for anything in return. He just really, really cared and loved people. You know, people, children, animals, anything. And he was just so easygoing. And I wrote a 2-page thing, and of course I left it back at home. Anyway, he'd laugh at that. But he's up there in the clouds or up in the heavens, and he is like floating on a cloud and jumping from one to the other into the stars, and like he is just in there and looking down at us. He is at peace now, and that's the best thing for him, to be at peace. And he loved everybody. So thank you all. You all have been so special, and you know there's quite a few of you that are really, really special in his life. And I know Katie's been special for me because we've been through so much. I can't remember how many years you guys were together. I know it was hush hush at first because you were a lot younger than him.
Sometimes we said 5 years, and sometimes we said 7, and one time I think we said 8. We really just don't know.
But you went through a lot in all those years and everything, and you hid some stuff from me because you didn't want me to hurt. And you were just such a special lady and a lovely young girl. And thank you, Katie, for being a really good part of his life. And also your mom, too. And my family over here as well. Just thank you so much for being there for me and just being so special. We know we all love David, and we all wished him well and to get better. And we'd all tried so many times. So thank you all, everybody. And he's just that free spirit that really, I don't know, how would you say it? I need help.
Living the dream.
Living the dream, exactly. Living the dream. And he was just such a dream. He was just a wonderful, wonderful son. He'll always be in my heart. And I'm sure all yours as well. And he's just just a lighthearted, happy person. So thank you all for coming today, and thank you, Gary, and your partner and everyone else for helping out and planning all this. It's been lovely, and I love all that you've done, everybody. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Is this thing on?
See.
Mine's just like really, well, you know, we'll see how short it is. Anyway, it was one of the last conversations that we had, and it just makes me giggle. He had been at my house because he would come by and I would do his laundry and he'd have a shower and I'd feed him food, and then he'd go on his way. And there wasn't always ways to communicate other than he'd just like knock on my window. But I remember, I think somehow he got a hold of me, like through Messenger or something. And he goes, "Hey, did I leave my crystal ball at your house?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "I'll look around though." So I'm looking around for this crystal ball, and then like months pass. And I'm like in my mud room. And for those of you who know, and for those of you who don't know, sorry, you walk in my mud room, and then I've just got this like shelf. It's almost like a bookshelf, but it's just full of shoes, just like rows and rows of shoes. And so I go to grab a pair of shoes, and I go to put them on, and there's this thing in my shoe. And I put my hand in it, there's this crystal ball. Why would you put it in the shoe? He was like, he did that on purpose, obviously. Like, it's not like he was like, "Oh, I'll just set," like, and maybe he was like, "I'll set it here so it doesn't roll away somewhere," like, I don't know. And then maybe he forgot. That's something I would do. We had the same birthday. We were both born on June 6th. So like, I probably would have put it in a shoe too. But I just felt like it was more like, she'll find it later, you know. But then he asked me for it, and then I didn't find it until months later. And then once I found it, I was like, "Okay, well, come back and get your ball." I found the ball, and I couldn't necessarily tell him. So anyway, I've got the ball, and I'm gonna keep it forever. But yeah, I just liked his little Easter egg. You know, his little Easter eggs that he would leave around. I've got like, you know, some of his like dioramas, is that what they're called? But they're like little miniature universes. He made me one with, it was like on a crystal, and then there's like unicorn, obviously, and there's like little trees, and it's a quite small one, but so that and the crystal ball are just hanging out together on my mantle. But yeah, full of surprises, full of love, full of fun, and I just really, really valued his friendship because he's always the type of person, like, I love social events, but I get a lot of social anxiety, and there's like certain anchors you're just like, oh, and you just go over to them, and then you're like, okay, I feel better. You don't even need to talk, you just stand with them. And I just know whenever I would go over to him, he just give me a big hug, and just like, I would forget whatever I was thinking about because he just brought me into the moment. And he just had like an irreplaceable ability to like make me, and I'm sure a lot of you, just like feel okay, and especially with the moment, like it just, everything else could go away because you could just be present together. So yeah, I'm gonna activate that power today, and love to everybody. Love you, Dave. Oh, and I'm going to Burning Man, so I'm gonna bring him with me, and he gets to go to Burning Man this year. Yeah. So yeah.
All right, so I got another story. I was with Dave and Katie at your parents' place, and we were fixing up the house. And Dave was in there. Dave was like a maniac. He had this saw, and he's in there. He's building walls and like putting on like the drywall and everything, just like a total maniac. But then one day we're working, and Dave's just AWOL. We're like, where the hell is Dave? Like, we need his help. We're doing all this work, and it's just me and Katie, and like we don't really know what we're doing. And it's like hours Dave's gone. And he shows up from like your parents' place, and he's baked a whole salmon. He just found like a fillet of salmon somewhere and baked it. And he's like, where were you? You've been like gone for like 4 hours. And he's like, well, like, I made you guys some food. And I was like, well, what the hell, man? And I think from then on, it was like, whenever you couldn't find Dave, it became synonymous with like, oh, he's out baking a salmon. And that made me think that sometimes you would just get so frustrated with Dave, you'd be like, where the hell are you? What are you doing? But it was always like something very well-intentioned, just not what you were expecting. Anyway, that was my really great memory of Dave.
So, I had the amazing opportunity to both work and play with the Niven. So I do work installing Christmas lights, and so I hired him for a season or two, and he was one of the most amazing workers. When he put his mind to it, he would be faster than anybody I've ever met. Not the safest. Because I would be on one house putting up Christmas lights, and he would jump from one house to the neighbor's house. Like a full jumping to go set up their lights. And he wouldn't use ladders. He didn't need ladders. Niven was too big for this world. He defied physics. He defied everything. He was never on time. But you knew when he showed up, he would bring something absolutely amazing. Salmon. Yeah, there was a few times where I'm calling him like, where are you? I'm just 5 minutes away. I'm at the bottom of the hill. An hour later, where are you? Oh, I just had to stop off at the 7-Eleven. I'm on my way up. And then it's like another half hour later, like, where are you? He's like, oh, I'm just pulling around the corner. And then, but then he would be like, oh, I made you this thing, and so you couldn't get mad at him because it was like, that's so thoughtful. Thank you so much. So one of my favorite stories that I have of him was after the Christmas light season, I went away, and there was a windstorm on Christmas Eve, and he was the only one that was around. And I called him. I'm like, I need a huge favor because a customer that's like really whatever. They were like, our wreath has flown off the thing, and it's Christmas Eve, and we want it up. So I was like, is there any way that you could like go out there and do it? He's like, yeah, for you, anything. So we drove all the way up to Maple Ridge to go put this wreath up on Christmas Eve. And the silly man didn't even bring a ladder. And it was about 10 o'clock at night, because he was, of course, a little bit late. And he man climbed this huge high peak with, I have no idea how he would have held a 4-foot wreath and climbed. Like I said, he defied physics to the point that my customers awoke from hearing something that sounded like someone breaking in, and they came out and saw Niven hanging, putting this wreath up, and then the guy had to come out and grab a ladder to try and get him down. It was one of the most amazing people I've ever met. So his brain just was not like anyone I ever knew. The way he thought, the way he acted, the way he treated others, it was one of the purest forms of love I've ever seen. So he'll be greatly, greatly missed. And if we could all try to live in the dream and be more like him, the world would be a better place. I miss you, buddy.
I was on a trip with Gary and Niven and many others down in Texas, and there was we were doing a DDP, and there was playing jock jams, and there was a basketball court, and there was kids playing basketball, and we were standing there cheering and boom boxes in the air. We had these really crappy Kobe boom boxes. People were throwing them up, and they were smashing to the ground. And then after the game ended, we all went onto the court and just sort of partied with the winning team. And I just remember Niven picking up a kid above his head, and the kid had one of these Kobe boom boxes, and Niven's like, slam it, and the kid slam dunked a boom box through a basketball hoop and smashed on the ground. And but like he did that like all the time. Like for anyone, that's like one of the peak moments of their life. But Niven had like thousands of those. And yeah, my dad and I went to Burning Man with Camp Dogecoin 2014, and 930 and B or E or one of those rings. And when we came back, my dad just said, "Man, Dave Niven he's just so kind. He's just such a amazing person." And I really like, I don't know. I just remember that, like, more than anything. Hearing someone I've looked up to my whole life say something so real. And, I mean, I couldn't put it in words, like, I wouldn't just sort of say that about someone, but hearing someone else say it really, really resonated. And it was just at the train station over here on Commercial, and my soon-to-be wife had just gotten pregnant, and we were just sort of telling people, like, oh, hey, like, and we saw Niven, and he was standing there, and he's like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, oh, it's good. Natalie's pregnant. He's like, you're gonna be a dad? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh man, you gotta learn some magic tricks. He's like, kids love magic tricks. You gotta do that. And I'll be honest, I haven't really learned any magic tricks. But, I mean, watching this kid chase geese is pretty cool too. But one thing that Niven did is he made his Niven bands, the arm bands, and we have dozens of these in our family and friends. And watching 2- and 3-year-old kids run around, like, they don't know about 80s and 90s wrestlers. They just know it as a party band. And watching little kids with Niven bands, it's a unique and amazing legacy. So I'd like to thank Dave for bringing us the Niven bands. Yeah.
I had to actually like make a note because there's just too many stories. But I just remember, like, I think this is like our third or something place that we lived, and we were in a basement. There were mosquitoes, and I don't like that they buzz near my ears and like can't like rest until they're gone. And he had a rubber band gun, and I would point where they were, and he would shoot them like across the room from the bed. And you just watch them drop, and he'd just kill every single one somehow, like with like precision accuracy, like just like doof, 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 doof. And I'm like, I don't know how anyone. And like he was really good at longbows, like he would just like shoot apples off people's heads, like no problem. He's like, oh, haven't done this in 6 years. What the poof? I was like, wow, that's terrifying almost. Like, also, like, he found out the price of women's underwear, and so he just started making underwear. Right? He was like, seamless underwear, like the best underwear I ever owned. Like, he was like, no, like, we will not be doing that. That's not worth $7. That's insane. Like, so. Yeah, and we after we were done the Europe tour, we went on a little vacation. And he was like, I've never really vacationed before. What do you do? I'm like, you don't do anything. You just relax. He's like, oh, that's weird. And I remember there was a moment, he's like lying on the beach. He's like, we don't have to go anywhere? I'm like, no. He's like, oh, this is really nice. And he just started crying. I was like, yeah. And he did find like a job to do while we were there. There were a lot of like stray cats. So he made it his like MO to like just like feed every single cat on this island. So like I'd wake up and he'd be gone on the ATV to go to the cats. And like I think he spent like all his money on cat food. Like it was just like we had so much cat food in our like Airbnb. I was like, this is getting out of hand. like you're bringing smelly cats into it now. Okay, but like yeah, so like always finding an animal that was hurt and helping it, and yeah, like we were together a long time, and in that time I think maybe we spent 7 days apart. I think, like, tops. Like, we were never apart. So, to be able to get along with someone that long is pretty insane. So, I'm lucky that I got all that time. Yeah. Thanks.
Hi. For those of you who don't know me, my name is John. I had the pleasure of meeting Niven several years ago. I just broke up with my girlfriend that time. I was all heartbroken then, and Niven pops into my life. Imagine that. So, him and I be hanging out at my place at Kingsway, and I had a place there. I didn't have a buzzer, but he always found some way in. Right? Not sure how that happened. That was the third floor. And one day he shows up with a hot girl, with a little tiny baby, and a baby skunk, right? hanging out with and the baby skunk and the little girl are getting along, everything's fine, right? And they went home, and we carried on. I probably was near day 3. We go up to the beach and chill. We go back to my other friend's place, and we have they're throwing knives in the back of the yard. Niven grabs 3 knives, whoop, 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 right? All 3 with the bullseye, grabs the axe, smokes the axe in the bullseye. It's okay, let's go. Couldn't even get the axe out either. Yeah, that was Niven. Accuracy. Well, yeah, I'll miss that man. A lovely soul. And thank you.
Those of you that don't know me, my name is Craig. I had the pleasure of living with Dave, Katie, and all of our absolute shit show friends for a good couple of years, and so there's just so many stories I could tell, as we all could tell. But one that I would like to share with you guys is, so back in those days, like 10 years ago, I was still on a working holiday visa. So every couple of years I had to leave the country and come back in to get my working holiday visa. And this one time it was coming up, I had no freaking way that I could get to the border and go across and come back in to get my working holiday visa. And so it just so happened that Dave's lovely mother happened to be visiting us, and she said, oh yeah, I could take you across the border. So like me, her and Dave jumped into the car with Bert, and love you Bert, by the way. And so we drove down to the border, and then when we get there, the Nivens didn't have their identification. Right? Am I right? Am I telling this right? Yeah. So we get there, and we're like, oh shit! Oh, excuse my language. They can't cross the border, so they wait on the Canada side of the border while I walk into the States, get my stamp, walk back into Canada, while all the while they're just waiting there, like by the duty free and just hanging out. And you know, that's just what great people that, you know, Dave's family and Dave was when I was in a time that I needed something. They were there for me, and I think that is very indicative of what this sexy bastard was like. He was just absolutely amazing. So one more story, if I may. Katie, I don't know if you remember that absolute rager of a party we had when we were living up on 35th and Fraser, like that kind of area. But Katie had the great idea to give all of the housemates little plastic sheriff badges. So everyone knew who was in charge, right? And, you know, lo and behold, the police turn up. I know. That sounds like I'm making this up, but I'm not making this up. And so it was me, Katie, Dave, Dane, Tree, and Dee all sitting around like, all right, who's gonna go talk to the cops? Oh my god, okay. Who's holding this together the most? Apparently it was me and Dave. So you could imagine the kind of state that everyone else was in if they decided that Dave and I were going to go down and talk to the cops. So Dave and I strolled down with the cops, you know, feeling pretty good, feeling great. And the cops like, okay, look, guys, it's only, you know, whatever time it was, 10:30, 11 p.m., whatever. If you guys can just keep it down, that it'll be no problems at all. And one of the greatest lines and the funniest things that I've ever heard was Dave just stepped right up to the cops and was like, look, guys, from one law enforcement official to the other, you have my word, things are going to be okay. So bless you, Dave. I love you, mate. You're a goddamn fucking legend.
So, me and Niven, we go way back. I don't know what DDP I met him on, but it was maybe like number 3. I don't know. And it was him and Mark Sweatman. And all 3 of us were just the guys who just drew the party. So much energy, so much love, so much authenticity and passion. And I don't have a bunch of funny anecdotes about Dave today. Rather, I want to talk about what he exemplifies as a man to me. And he's been extremely inspirational because he was a man who simply just was. He just existed from this place of self, from this place of core. And there wasn't any thinking or hesitation you would see. He was like an animal, just present at all times, not thinking about the future, not thinking about the past, just now, acting from that place, just being. And he was so naturally gifted in so many ways, so many surprises. I think all of you who know Niven probably were surprised by him at one point in time. Maybe throwing an axe, shooting a bow and arrow, renovating a house, sewing some elaborate, amazing costume, building some 15-foot rocket with strobe lights on it that go to the music. And, you know, for many years we hunted thrift stores. We hunted, looking for cool shit. And at some point, it became like, yeah, we still loved it, but we just weren't able to find the stuff we wanted. So what did Dave do? He just started making that stuff. He's like, well, we've hit our limits here with these stores. Let's just start creating. And at that point, I was kind of left in the dust a little bit. I'm like, man, I just can't find stuff as cool as you make. So what did I do? I was like, I got to start making stuff too. So I remember I bought this sewing machine, and I really wanted to learn from Dave. And so I drove out to where him and Katie were staying in White Rock, and they weren't there. They made some impromptu trip down to the States. So I just like broke into his house, kind of like he would to mine, and just got on the machine. And I had this vision because we were up in Cultus Lake, and I bought this buffalo driver head cover at this gypsy yard sale for $1. She wanted 2, got her down to 1. And I was like, I want to take this thing and cut the head off and like sew it on some shorts and make grass-fed buffalo lederhosen. I really wanted to do this so bad. So I drove out there with all the stuff, all the fabric, expecting Dave, and he wasn't there. So I let myself in, and I just got on the machine, and I got on YouTube, and I figured out how to thread the bobbin. And I was getting it, but I was struggling. And then Dave came back like 2 hours later, and we just made this thing together. And it was my first piece. And I was like, wow, okay, cool. This is something that like, all right, what are we gonna do with this? So me and Dave just started bouncing ideas off each other and started making stuff. And had it not been for him, I never would have discovered that creative outlet to make clothes, to design stuff, to actually take stuff from your head and just make it a reality. And that's often what Dave did. He just took things from his head and made them a reality and shocked and awed people, myself included. And when you look at what he exemplified as a man, he just was. He didn't hesitate. He came forward with love. He came forward with truth. He came forward with positive energy. He had the ability to dispel any form of negative energy that he encountered. There could be a drunk, belligerent person during a party, could be a homeless guy, could be an old person, a young person, anything. He just had this innate ability to connect with people from this place of human and just bring them into his world, calm them down, and set them free. And that was very impressive. And, you know, I like to think I have this ability too, but I'm a little just, Dave was just so understanding and so patient and so wow. So I've like been inspired to adapt parts of it, but I didn't quite have that just natural gift, just like Dave. he was very naturally gifted in so many ways. And, you know, the power of his mind was so intense that unfortunately he just went into his own world so far. And that was what Niven would do in life, just go into his own world, not allowing anyone to pull him out. And sadly, I knew one day, maybe. And when that day came, I was very sad. I was in another country, and that news came, and it hit me. I think I was at the gym, Katie told me. And I just stopped, and I was overcome with silence and sadness, because I knew that a ripple in the universe had just happened. And the world had lost a great man. Humanity had lost a great man, a gift to this planet, a gift to everyone he encountered, to everyone he touched. And Dave was limitless. His touch and his inspiration and his reach was limitless. And it still is. He will live on in all of us. And the stories and the things he made and his energy and what he was is something that I will always hold onto and always draw from and always remember. And for that, I say thank you, Dave. Up there in the heavens, in the universe, your energy lives on this planet. You made your mark. A lot of people throw around the word legend and epic for things that aren't really legendary or epic. However, Dave truthfully was a legend. I can say that, and no, he was indeed, and he still is. All right. Thank you, guys. That's my piece.
Hi, I'm Mandy. I don't think many of you probably know me. I
hold the mic
unfortunately
close.
did not get... Sorry?
Just hold it close to your
Oh,
mouth.
sorry. I unfortunately did not get the privilege to know Niven, and I knew him as Niven, not as Dave, in the height of his DDP amazingness. I came, I think, shortly after the time he kind of went off to do his own thing a bit, and so you know, I kind of got ushered into this crazy, amazing world of color, of freedom, of all these people coming together, and Niven would drop in, and I would get these little doses of him, and every time it was just this. He was always this guy in this outfit that he had created with all of these pieces that he had attached, and I would watch him take things off and give to people, and I would watch him, and I was just like, who is this person? And it took me so long to wrap my head around who he was. And then Gary had asked me to start helping with the power bands. That's kind of why I started with the DDP, was making things. And he told me all these stories about Niven and how the power bands came to be and what they were wanting to do with them. And so I was really trying to connect to them in that way of like, okay, what am I continuing? What am I trying to bring forward? And then one day I was walking down Commercial Drive, I'm shaking a bit, and Niven caught me on the street, and he was like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, how are you? And I was like, I'm okay, I kind of gotta go, but he's like, no, just give me a minute, just 1 minute. And I was like, okay. And I was going through a really, really, really hard time in my life. I just, you know, had a huge breakup, and like I moved, I had nothing, and the DDP and Gary and all of them had kind of taken me in and were helping me out. And he goes, come with me to my trailer. And I'm like, okay. Sure. So we go through these alleys, these random streets. We get into this yard, and I'm kind of like, whoa, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here, man. He's just like, no, it's okay, it's cool. He's like, just come in the trailer. And I was like, okay. So I go into this old trailer, and I look inside, and I just see this whole other world that he had created. Just all this stuff that he had collected, that he had made. And he's like, just sit down for a sec. I gotta find something for you. And he's like, how are you? How's your daughter? And I was like, oh, you're gonna ask about my daughter. And at the time, I was going through something really hard where she and I had been separated. And he started just pulling these things out of me. And we started connecting on the ideas of our children, being children and magic and making things. And he's just digging and tossing stuff everywhere. And he finds this silver rainbow reflective sticker thing. And he goes, I got it. And I'm like, okay. What are we doing with this? And he's like, and he goes and he cuts a big funny shape out of it, and he goes, give this to your daughter. She needs that. She's gonna want it. She's gonna love it. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll do that, man. And we had a hug, we had a chat, and as I'm looking around, I'm looking at all these magical little things, and I'm like, so this is where he gets all that stuff that he gives to people. All right, that's pretty cool. Go see my daughter finally after a while. I give her the sticker, and I see her eyes just light up. And all the ideas she all of a sudden has that she's going to use this sticker paper for. And I realized the kind of person Niven was in that moment. How he was able to spread joy and magic and happiness with the littlest, the simplest of things. And for that, he was just so amazing. And it made me want to be more like him. It gave me a greater idea of what the DDP is, and what he was trying to create, and what he was trying to do. And like you said, his legacy will live on through all those little things, all those magical little pieces that he put into our lives that we pass on. And yeah, I don't know what else to say there other than, watching Niven be Niven was like watching a unicorn trying to be human. And it was just, he was a special soul and a special person, and I am so thankful to have known and experienced his magic. So if any of you have a bubble blower, I think Azzy was handing them out. If you'd like to join me in maybe just blowing a few little bubbles here at the end of my ramblings. To you, Niven, you amazing, amazing unicorn magical being of a man. You're always with us. Thank you.
So the trailer reminded me of something, so it was a footnote. He had his little trailer parked out the back of my place in the parking lot in Vegas. I was like, okay, whatever. So this is around the same time with the axe throwing and everything. And we're on like a 5-day bender. And I'm gassed out, and then he goes, oh, I'm going to go down the trailer and grab something. So he brings up this kit of things. Starts creating all this stuff. And I'm gassed out. So I gotta sleep. So I go to sleep, I wake up. And here's all these little unicorns glued to my fridge, my chandelier. I was like, what the hell, right? I was like, oh, that kind of looks cool anyway. And I had this couch, it was a sectional, right? My friend gave me, we called it Vortex. So I hadn't seen it in a few days, right? And I'm just like cleaning up and find this fanny pack in the couch. I was like, what's this? Open it up. It's like $500 and his ID and everything. And I run into it again. And, do you missing anything? He goes, oh, nope. Not this. Goes, oh, I was wondering where that went. Yeah, he was a special unit. I love him. Still do. Many, many memories with him. And I'm just so grateful to have him in my life. And bless you all.
I'm pretty sure we could all sit here for hours and hours and hours and talk stories about Niven, because he obviously touched everyone here very closely. Not in a sexual way. Well, some of us, but biggest laugh was from Katie there. Yeah, sweet. All right. But I was just telling my friend Lincoln over here, who just got here, I was working on his construction crew, and then we brought Dave on with us as well. And I was just telling Lincoln about a time that Dave legitimately saved my life. I know he's saved all of our lives in regards to Niven the Dream and all that fucking bullshit, but he legitimately saved my life one day at work. It was a Monday, and we'd had a little bit to drink the night before. When we went in, we were laying floorboards down on the 3rd floor of a story. So we were walking across floor joists 3 floors up with a, concrete chasm of death below us. And here's me carrying a 4x8 sheet of plywood, and back at the time I weighed about 150 pounds. Now I weigh more like 200 pounds, but anyhow. Where I was walking along the floor joist trying to deliver this sheet for our crew to nail down, and I started to go down. And it wouldn't have worked out very well for me at all if Dave wasn't there, and Dave legitimately caught me and actually 100% saved my life, or saved the small amount of brain functioning that I still actually have. So, cheers to you, buddy.
And so many memories. Love David Niven. I've been going through a lot of memories lately, and a lot of things that he's made, and left with me, like these chopsticks. He had a big bowl of popcorn, and he would just take each popcorn piece and pop it in his mouth. He lived with us last year for about 6 months, and he really left his mark in many ways. Just going around the house, like his creativity, his drive is beautiful and inspiring, so inspiring to me. He was a dreamer, he was a doer, and he talked about things and he made them happen. And it's a beautiful part of him I really appreciate and really hits home to me. He made this chair as well. Got a matching pair, black and white. I love Japan. I lived there for 2 years. I don't even know if he knew that. It happened. He wanted to change our house, open part of it up, French doors, and add a whole addition on. That's what my dad did growing up. So, but while he lived with us, we thought we had to nail the furniture to the floor because he'd be up all night and wake up in the morning and everything's rearranged. But it was amazing though. I liked it, but it was just happening so much. I didn't know which one to pick and to keep. He took our sound boxes and he put a glass piece on it. And it was a dining table. Yeah. So grateful to know him. I've known him about 8 years. When Katie and them were together, got to know him then, and known him ever since. And he's come and gone. I love when he comes back, but now he is gone. But he is always here and for all of us, and I cherish every creative piece he has created and every memory I have. And it honestly feels so good to share it with the people that love him that are here today. Thank you. Thank you for being here and cheering this week.
So Niven and I, we knew each other for a long time, but didn't get to cross paths as often as we'd like. I met him in Big White Ski Resort, and actually got to know him a little bit more here in Vancouver. And I just don't have the most stories to talk about, other than every time we'd cross paths, I'd be like, "Your style, man. You're so fucking dope." And he'd be like, "Oh yeah, let me show you this thing I made." And, you know, the hats and like the attire, and just like every time I saw him, he'd try to give me something, and I just love that about him. Like I saw him on Commercial Drive, and he'd have one pair of shades on him, but he'd be like, "I'm going somewhere, I gotta go, but you gotta have these shades." I'd be like, "Oh no, I'm okay." And he's like, "You must take them." I'm like, "Yes, I'll take those." And I just have one story that I just wanted to say, because it's just like, you know, so Niven. I remember one day he showed up to my house, and he's like, "Hey, I don't have much time, but I just pulled over because I was passing your house, and I gotta show you something." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, what, like, show me." And he's like, No, it's in my truck." So I go outside, and he's like, you gotta get in the truck." I'm like, "Okay." I get in the truck, and he reaches in the back seat, and he pulls out a baby skunk. Like literally like the size of my hand, like the smallest little skunk I've ever seen in my life. He's like, "Don't worry, it can't spray, it doesn't have the gland yet." And he's like, "You have to hold it." And, yeah, that's just one of my favorite deep memories. And it just kind of describes his personality, right? Like, where did he get this baby skunk? He's like, "I just found it." "Did you have a mom near it?" And I was like, no, it was all alone. I rescued it, you know? And that's just my little story. And thank you all for being here. And I can see that he invited a lot of other guests for us to just enjoy it. They're in the background, though. But yeah, thank you all for coming, and much love to Niven.
Yes, I can go next. Might have to take off to start preparing for celebration tonight soon. Yes. Really love everything that everyone said so far. Very good synopsis of the magical man that Dave was. So a couple of quick stories that always pop into my mind. One of them was, it's a long story, but he and I ended up in Bethlehem, Palestine, and we were there for like an hour, and this like military riot broke out, and we were in this refugee camp building looking over at this like crazy military situation happening, and Dave looks at me and he's like, "We should get the banana suits on." I was like, oh no. I was like, yeah, we have to do this, I think. So we had the boom case, and we had these banana suits, and it's a long story, but we were here, and we're like, okay. And we started the camera rolling, and the idea, it wasn't just like a stupid, dumb idea. I mean, it was stupid, dumb idea, but if you know about the DDP, you know the greater vision of world peace and Nobel Prizes and all that. So we thought maybe if we went in there and we stopped this riot with the banana suits and the boombox, and we filmed it, maybe this could be like a Christmas truce, 1914 World War I type of moment where we change the course of history. So we're in there, we're getting the banana suits on, and then the people we were staying with, who we just met, they come in and they're like, "What are you doing?" And we're like, "We're gonna go in there." They're like, "They will kill you." We're like, feels like the right thing to do. So none of this is exaggerated at all. Dave and I were best friends for I don't know how many years, a long time, and it was this very funny balance of me being like fairly organized and practical or something along those lines, and he was just this wild spirit, and we balanced each other out pretty nicely, and it was a beautiful time. Very glad that we filmed hundreds and hundreds of hours, so hopefully we'll get that stuff released before too long and share it with the world. And another time I always think of was I was renovating. There's 2 levels on my apartment, and there was some crazy situation where everyone moved out above, and I was like, the only thing I can do here is turn this into an Airbnb. It's a complicated situation, and Dave just kind of dropped everything, and he had all these amazing renovation skills, and he just like, it's like, Gary needs help. It's like, I'm gonna help him, and then we just went nonstop for I don't know how many weeks. It was like 1,000 hours straight, all day, all night renovating, and he never wanted any kind of financial compensation for anything he ever did. And yeah, there's many stories like those, but I wrote out my thoughts a few months ago when this all first happened, so I'll try and share those now. So I was recently informed, if I wear these it'll look like I'm looking at all of y'all. It's a good trick, as Jeff would know. We were just talking about wearing shades to make videos and things. But I was recently informed that David Niven had transitioned to a plane of existence where he will finally be at peace. For those who hadn't seen him in a while, he'd been struggling with substance and mental health challenges for quite some time. Although many loving friends and family members did their best to help him overcome these, we were not successful. But I personally do see his life and times as a great success. Dave lived and loved harder than anyone I have ever encountered, and experienced daily more laughter, excitement, and adventure than most will in a lifetime. I'm extremely glad to have captured hundreds of hours of these adventures on video and look forward to someday sharing them and having the whole world experience a small slice of the ineffable magic that animated that truly unique man. He also leaves behind a daughter who will help to sustain his legacy as well. Although he was extremely troubled and lost towards the end, I feel that I can accurately speak to the true character of the Niven, as we were best friends for many years and traveled the world together many times. I used to call him my spirit animal because he fully embodied a divine alignment of childlike playfulness and cosmic creativity. Despite being an extremely powerful masculine force, he also maintained a magical ability to gently and gracefully enhance the lives of everyone around him. He was a chaotic good and a unique source of wisdom and guidance for those who were open to receiving it. He was also given the nickname Given Niven due to the fact that he gave so much of himself, often putting the needs of others far before his own. At his core, like most great artists, Dave was an extremely sensitive soul. And like many great artists, the challenges of this world were simply too great to bear. Despite leaving us earlier than anticipated, I do consider his legacy to be one of greatness. He enhanced so many lives around him and inspired so many to live more freely, fearlessly, and fully, including myself. At his best, Dave embodied the true essence and objective of the Decentralized Dance Party, which is forgetting who you are while remembering what you are, aka capital P Party. Thanks to his immense contributions, that exquisite energy will continue to shine forth for many years to come. My highest hope is that you yourself will do your best to remember the person that David Niven was and embody his same spirit of giving, divine silliness, and fearless self-expression. All of these, at their core, are truly the essence of love. I didn't think Dave could ever die, and I don't believe that he truly has. I will miss him dearly, but he will never be forgotten. So thank you for coming today. I'm glad I could share that. And tonight we'll be doing a DDP in Dave's honor. If you feel called, I hope you will join. We have power bands for everyone and shades over here, so make sure you grab some. Even if you're not coming tonight, you're welcome to have a pair to remember Dave. And there's also lots of stickers and photos of the lower image there if you'd like. And I think that's all I have to share. Yes.
Just in the theme of the armbands, my dad's name was also Dave, and he also passed away. He passed away on July 9th. And I happened to be at a music festival, and I found out, and I was like, I need to just dance it out of my body and deal with the emotions later. So I came up with this tagline, and then when I said it, I realized, because I put on my power bands, I was like, Dave, I need you with me. So I put on my power bands, and I was like, oh wait, we're gonna rave for Dave. And to me, it was double-edged sword. It was, it was both of them. It was double entendre. It was both Daves. So anyway, let's rave for Dave.
I wasn't gonna tell this story, but I'm gonna tell it. We were somewhere in America, on tour, day 20 or something. I sleep on the batteries, and the banana suits go on top of the battery packs. So I have this little area, and it's annoying if someone gets out when we're at the gas station. There's a rule, like, don't get out, because, like, we don't notice because we're all sleeping, and we'll drive away without you, you know? And so, like, Dave, like, trips all over me and drops all this shit, and then he's picking it up, and I look out the window, and he's in the gas station running around with a blender looking for a plug-in, and then he finds it, and he's just making a margarita. Like, he's in there making it, and then as the blender's on, it's like going, the guy's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm making a margarita. I can see this whole interaction, and I'm like watching, Gary's like pumping gas, I'm looking, I'm watching, and then he unplugs it, runs, like, he does this all in like 20 seconds somehow, like runs back, sits down, I just hear, that's good. Like, just drinking it in the dark. So yeah, that's the story I wasn't gonna tell, but it's a good one.
Hello. I'm Norbert. It's a very quick, funny little story. I came by the DDP headquarters one evening, and I think it was Katie and Dave, or just Dave himself. It was like just starting to become dark, and I'm like, what are you doing? So we went on a little mission to put little reflective mushrooms on all the speed bump signs, just by Terry's house. And I don't know. Terry's that little story.
Okay. I guess I got one story, and that's thanks to Party Cab reminding me of this. And I don't really remember this story, but I will try to recollect from the best of my recollection what had happened. Me and Dave had ventured downtown one night just to go fuck around. And on the way, we found this ironing board just sitting there. And Dave and me looked at each other and were like, should we take this with us? And it was a rhetorical question, because yes, of course we should. So we just went on an adventure with this ironing board. And we took this thing down Granville Street, and there was all these people lined up to get into places, and we would just like go and set the ironing board up, and people would be like, what are you doing with that ironing board? And we'd be like, we're just ironing shit out. Hey, you know what? Bring your problems over here. Let's iron them out. So people started leaving lineups and coming over and telling us their problems. We'd put them on the board and invisibly iron them out. And we just went down Granville doing this until we ran into Party cab. And what did Party Cab have? He had his party cab. So me and Dave just got on the back, and I think we had like the party armors or some shit. We had left my place downtown, just dressed up for an occasion. So we got on the back of this party cab with this ironing board, and we were just like, he was driving us down Granville, and we were just like with this ironing board above our head, like it was gladiators, and it was just a good night. And I gotta thank Party Cab for just reminding me about the ironing board this one time. Completely forgot about that.
I remember he used to say
I guess it didn't. Yeah. Straightening shit out.
That's what he would say when he would bring out the ironing board.
Well, you gotta be ironing shit out because it's an ironing board, but you straighten it out too. Yeah. Anyways, that's all I remember.
Hello. Hopefully I'm not going to fall from the camera. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for all of the stories and memories about David. I'm very heartbroken that he's, I don't even want to say no longer with us. I totally agree with you because I know that like he is. My driveway doesn't explode with glitter anymore. It was always like he would come over and then he would leave and like everything would be covered in glitter, which is kind of a pain in the butt actually. Yeah, so he stayed with us for a while, and yeah, I feel very. I always felt very kindred to David. He felt like a brother to me. Especially when he convinced me that he was putting gummy bears in my hair while I was sleeping. It turns out I was just eating gummy bears while I was falling asleep. But I got really paranoid about that, so whatever he was doing, it was working. Yeah, and I just, some things that David and I had in common is our, like, love of magic. So I love that magic came up. And scarves. Duh. I remember he'd wear like 6 scarves at a time, and I was always jealous of his scarves. So I tried to take them off of him, but yeah. And just one last thing, I've had some good cries about David, and still feel him around me. He built this little mobile thing with a crystal on it, and I had a friend over, and they were wearing a very vibrant outfit, and all of a sudden this light starts like going across this person's outfit, and I looked over at the crystal, and it was like Dave was telling me, like, I think this is a pretty funky outfit this person's wearing. I was like, thank you, I think it's pretty cool too. And then, yeah, I had a big cry when I first found out. And a few days later, I was like cleaning my room, and I found this piece of paper, and it was David's writing. And it said, "Always be yourself" on it. And I just was like, again, like, you're here, you are still here. Making me feel better, making me laugh. Because I know that, as Trudy said, like, he wouldn't want us to be crying. He'd want us to be laughing and having a good time, that jerk. Yeah, miss you, David. And just like looking around at you guys, and this is something that we all have in common, is just like a big love for that special guy. So that's what I'm going to share. Thank you.
If nobody wants to share, I'd like to play a song in his honor. Is that all right? I can attach to this. This might make you cry.
Tell me, what does it look like in heaven? Is it peaceful? Is it free like they say? sun shining bright forever.
Anyone would like some armbands?
And
Come
your
on up.
pain gone away.
Come on up.
'Cause here on earth it feels like everything
And stickers, photos. There's large and small size. So.
Is there music? Is there art and invention? Tell me, are you happy? Are you more alive? Everything's different.
Dance party tonight. We're gonna meet up at 8 o'clock at the art gallery. Art gallery? What are you doing?
I hope you
Better downtown. Push him around again. Matches my shirt too. That's me right there. That was one of the best DDPs I've ever been to. Show me again. Oh yeah, that's me right there.
Get that big turkey one. Yeah. That's gonna be there tonight.